Greetings collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. I thought that I would take us back to the 90s today and a bit of a somewhat unique game, or at least it was at the time. With elements of racing, pulling off stunts, fighting, skating and hitching, it can only be Skitchin. Now, things were a little different back in the 90s. Health and safety hadn't been invented yet, and if you wanted to sell games, they had to have attitude. And it's that edgy feel that makes 90s youth culture so hilarious to look back on. Skitchin fits the bill here perfectly. The clothes, the language, the characters, the attitude. With a combination of skating and hitching, Skitchin delivers an experience all of its own. It's fast, furious, and unapologetically just does what it does. The game sees itself as an offshoot of the main Road Rash series, also published by Electronic Arts. September 1991 had seen the Sega 8 and 16-bit crowd won over by the original Road Rash. December 1992's Road Rash 2 was then perhaps one of the best received direct sequels on the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Yes, tearing up the highway and beating your fellow Rashers really hit the spot. But where to go from here? Road Rash 2 was essentially a perfect upgrade to the original. A third Road Rash title at this time would surely seem like introducing an unnecessary sequel. This was the genius of Skitchin. EA were able to repurpose much of the Road Rash series assets and mechanisms and reinvent the concept, this time on rollerblades. Skitchin snuck into a March 1994 release to break up the Road Rash entries on the Sega platforms of the day, making the return to Road Rash 3's new aesthetic in March 1995 more palatable. Ask anyone to describe Skitchin, and they will 9 times out of 10 simply reply, "It's Road Rash on skates." In many respects this is certainly true, however the new format of the game led to some rather interesting tweaks in the gameplay. Yes, the weapons are all here, the chaos of the chase, the police, the obnoxious competitors, but look deeper and there is much more on offer here. Weapons can now be collected from the street rather than being stolen from other competitors. The orange cone will denote where a pickup is coming. Simply swoop down and enjoy your bounty. Then cave someone's head in with it. Between rounds there is also the opportunity to take part in bonus rounds of speed or skill to add to your bank balance. And you'll be needing that cash too. The general wear and tear on your gear can get quite costly, so bonus cash for placement, stunts and beatings will all help you thrive in the game. Take your cash to this dude behind some sort of bootleg Beanie Babies factory somewhere and replace and upgrade the gear as you see fit. The way this guy is dressed, it's so 90s it physically hurts. It's almost as if the cartridge contains a time warp to the 90s itself. You almost expect Vanilla Ice to break out and lay down some beats. In terms of gameplay, the concept never really wavers. It's all about hitching rides and beating down the coolest dudes on the road. The soundtrack is literally made for the Mega Drive. It's loud and in your face to reinforce the edgy credentials for the game. Early on in the game, you'll find that you can win almost every race by simply finding a fast car and waiting till the end of the track. Later on though, the need to fight off multiple enemies and change to a faster vehicle become much more pressing. Falling down late into a race can have devastating results. In terms of the physical release, I'd say that EA did a nice job here with the presentation. The cover looks like it could have dropped straight out of an MTV commercial, or amateur skating VHS. It sets the tone well for the game and I have no complaints here. For my money, I would also say that the PAL edition is more effective in design than that of the North American design, and obviously has a lot of Canadian influence due to the development team. It just seems to communicate the street vibe a little clearer. God bless Canada. Of course, with this being the 90s, this grungy title was only ever going to end up on one 16-bit console. Sega's Mega Drive and Genesis were a perfect match for the attitude. I just can't see Nintendo entertaining such unsavoury content. Even Sega had to issue warnings on the front of the boxes, and then at the start of the game. I always felt this to be rather amusing at the time, as the overtones of the game are overwhelmingly North American in content. Here in a rather quieter part of the UK, the idea of gangs hanging out on rollerblades just didn't seem to strike any sense of reality. Having said that, Frank Spencer had made this activity at least somewhat cool in the UK a good decade earlier. That 90s North American grungy feel dripped from the game content itself. With the competitors such as Fester, Thrasher and Caustic, this was clearly not a native European game. Also, is Carcass Ozzy Osbourne? And isn't Tank Edward Norton? And Jackal? He reminds me of someone, but I just can't place him. Nice hair though. Yes, this was a very alien game style to some of us, but it really didn't matter, as the content was so good. It was simple, yet very playable. Until you tried to use a nitro and ended up ploughing into everything and anything. If you enjoyed games such as Road Rash and you like what you see here, then you'll be able to pick up a copy of this game relatively inexpensively online. Prices do fluctuate quite a bit at the moment, but are unlikely to end up breaking the bank anytime soon. What more can I say? Skitchin is a fun concept that doesn't take itself too seriously. The rotoscope graphics hold up relatively well today, I'd say, as does the Road Rash game engine. So, if you have a hankering for the extreme 90s, then this game may just be for you. Until next time, happy gaming.
Hey kids, always recycle. To the extreme! Busted!
Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!